In the quiet, unassuming town of Rosedale, Maryland, a mystery unfolded that would baffle investigators for years. It all began on March 29, 1985, a day that started like any other but ended with a chilling discovery. A woman named Dorothy Miller, concerned after not hearing from her brother for several days, decided to check on him at his home. Her brother was 61-year-old Rudolph H. Stehling, a reclusive but well-liked man, known for his quiet nature and his job at a local hospital. When Dorothy arrived at Rudolph's modest house, an unsettling silence hung in the air. The doors were locked, and there was no answer to her calls. A growing sense of dread prompted her to contact the Baltimore County Police. Officers were dispatched for a wellness check. What they found inside the home wasn't just a scene of a tragedy, but the beginning of an enigma that seemed to defy all logic. Inside, the police discovered the body of Rudolph Stehling. He was lying in his bed, having been shot multiple times. The scene was immediately secured as a homicide investigation began. But as detectives meticulously combed through the house for clues, they stumbled upon something truly bizarre. In Rudolph's bedroom, the very room where his body lay, were 6 clocks. There was an old grandfather clock, a digital alarm clock on the nightstand, a cuckoo clock on the wall, a small travel clock, a pendulum clock, and even the time on his wristwatch. What was so strange about this? Every single one of them, from the mechanical to the digital, was stopped, and they were all stopped at the exact same time, 12:43. This detail was utterly baffling. How could 6 different clocks, some battery-powered, some electric, and some purely mechanical, all cease to function at the precise same moment? The initial theory was a power outage. A sudden surge or cut could explain the electric clocks stopping. But what about the battery-operated ones? And the grandfather clock, which ran on weights and a pendulum? A power failure couldn't possibly affect all of them. The odds of 6 independent timepieces failing simultaneously for different reasons were astronomically low. It was a statistical impossibility. The investigators were stumped. Was this a message from the killer? A symbolic gesture? Or was there a rational scientific explanation they were missing? The time of 12:43 became the presumed time of death. The coroner's initial examination supported this, suggesting that Rudolph had been killed sometime in the early morning hours. But the how of the clocks remained a complete mystery. As they delved deeper into Rudolph Stehling's life, detectives tried to build a profile of the victim. He was described by neighbors and colleagues as a solitary man. He had no known enemies, no criminal record, and no apparent risky behaviors. He lived a simple, routine life. He went to work, came home, and kept to himself. The robbery motive seemed unlikely at first, as there were no signs of forced entry, and many valuable items in the house were left untouched. It looked more like Rudolph had let his killer in, suggesting he knew them. The investigation stalled. The strange detail of the clocks dominated the case file, but it offered no concrete leads. It was a detail so peculiar that it bordered on the paranormal for some. Tabloids and local news latched onto the story, dubbing it the 12:43 mystery. Theories ran wild. Was it a freak electrical phenomenon, a rare type of electromagnetic pulse? Or was it something more sinister and calculated? One theory proposed by the killer's design. Perhaps the murderer had methodically gone around the room and stopped each clock manually, setting them all to 12:43. This would be a chilling act of staging, a way to taunt the police and create a signature. But why? What did 12:43 signify? Investigators looked into Rudolph's life for any connection to that specific time. Birthdays, anniversaries, significant events, nothing matched. It seemed to be a random number, which made the deliberate staging theory feel less purposeful. We go to all that trouble for a random time. Months turned into a year, and the case grew cold. The police had no suspects, no murder weapon, and no motive. The mystery of the 6 stopped clocks was an intriguing but ultimately frustrating dead end. The case file was packed away, another unsolved homicide in a long list of them, but some detectives just couldn't let it go. The sheer strangeness of it all kept them thinking, revisiting the file whenever they had a spare moment. Then years later, a breakthrough came from an unexpected place. It wasn't a new piece of evidence or a deathbed confession. It was a fresh perspective from a new detective who was assigned to review old, cold cases. This detective, unburdened by the initial groupthink and paranormal speculation that had clouded the case, decided to re-examine the most basic assumptions. He started with the clocks. He questioned the premise that the clock's stopping was a supernatural or symbolic event. He thought, what if it's simpler? What if the sound of the gunshots was the cause? High-powered firearms produce a significant concussive blast, a shockwave. The detective wondered if a powerful enough shockwave, reverberating within the confines of a small bedroom, could be strong enough to affect delicate clock mechanisms. This new theory was testable. The police forensics lab decided to conduct an experiment. They set up a room with various types of clocks, just like the ones found in Rudolph's bedroom. They had electric, battery, and wind-up clocks. Then, they fired a weapon of the same caliber they believed was used in the murder. The results were astounding. The powerful concussive blast from the gunshots had indeed stopped several of the clocks. The shockwave was enough to jolt the delicate hands of the analog clocks, knock batteries loose in the battery-operated ones, and disrupt the sensitive internal mechanisms. While not every single clock stopped in every single test, the experiment proved that it was physically possible for the gunshots themselves to cause the clocks to malfunction. This single experiment changed the entire complexion of the case. The 6 stopped clocks were not a message from the killer. They weren't a paranormal event. They were a direct physical result of the violence that had occurred in that room. The clocks didn't mark the time of death set by a killer. They recorded the exact moment the fatal shots were fired. 12:43 wasn't a symbolic time. It was the literal, exact time of the murder. This revelation, while solving the central mystery of the clocks, unfortunately didn't lead directly to the killer. The case of Rudolph Stehling's murder officially remains unsolved to this day. We now understand the what and the how of the bizarre scene, but the who and the why are still lost to time. The investigation into Rudolph's death is a fascinating example of how an investigation can be sidetracked by a single, inexplicable detail. The initial focus on the clocks as a cryptic message sent detectives down a rabbit hole of speculation, diverting resources and attention from more conventional lines of inquiry. It highlights the importance of Occam's razor in detective work. The simplest explanation is often the correct one. While the story of the 6 stopped clocks is a real and documented part of the case, it also serves as a cautionary tale. In the world of true crime, we are often drawn to the bizarre and the seemingly supernatural. But more often than not, the truth is grounded in the laws of physics and the stark, brutal reality of the crime itself. The clocks weren't a supernatural whisper. They were a mechanical scream, a silent testament to the very moment a life was tragically cut short. The killer, whoever they were, may have escaped justice, but they unwittingly left behind a unique and indelible timestamp of their crime. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into baffling mysteries. Stay curious and stay safe.